That Friday afternoon, as I stood by the kitchen window watching the rain pelt the glass in soft rhythmic beats, I had no idea how much that weekend would change everything. I'd been feeling off for weeks, maybe even longer. My husband, Alex, had left for a business retreat upstate and wouldn't be back until Monday. He barely looked me in the eye when he said goodbye, just a distracted kiss on the cheek and a reminder about the thermostat. That kind of distant affection had become our norm. So when Liam, my stepson, called and said he was coming home for the weekend from university, I felt something. I told myself it was just nice to have company, but deep down it stirred something more complicated, something I didn't want to look at too closely. He arrived just after sunset, soaked from the downpour. I remember the way his hair clung to his forehead, his hoodie dripping on the porch as he grinned at me. Boyish, carefree, and yet different. He wasn't the lanky teenager I remembered. His shoulders were broader now, his voice deeper. Something about him had shifted. "Hey, Celeste," he said, stepping inside, shaking the water from his sleeves. "Smells like cinnamon in here." I smiled. "Bake something to pass the time." We laughed over dinner. Nothing too special, just leftover chicken and wine. But there was a comfort in the way he listened, the way his eyes stayed on mine when I spoke. The kind of attention I hadn't received from Alex in months. After dinner, I offered to make up the guest room, but Liam chuckled and said, "The ceiling still leaks in there, remember? I'll just crash on the couch like old times." Old times. I nodded, pretending not to feel the heat rush to my chest. I made some tea, and we sat in the dimly lit living room, the fireplace crackling softly. He stretched out on the couch, shirt lifted slightly above his waistline. My eyes betrayed me. I looked too long, and I knew it. The moment was brief, but it branded itself onto me. I excused myself to take a shower, hoping the steam would settle my racing thoughts. Standing under the water, I stared at my reflection in the glass. My body, older yes, but still full of curves and softness I knew how to use. I was 43, not ancient, not invisible. And Liam, he wasn't a boy anymore. He wasn't my son either. That thought alone made me grip the edges of the sink after drying off, heart pounding in shame. And something else. I walked back into the living room in my robe, damp hair falling over my shoulders. Liam had dozed off, one arm thrown over his eyes. His shirt had ridden up again. His breathing was slow, rhythmic, and something inside me ached. Something I hadn't felt in years. Desire. I stood there, frozen, caught in a web of guilt and heat. My throat was dry. My thoughts a blur. I should have gone upstairs. I should have walked away. But I didn't. I sat down at the edge of the couch, careful not to wake him, but close enough to feel his warmth. I stared at him, studied the angles of his jaw, the faint scruff lining his chin. My eyes traced down, stopping at the way his abdomen rose and fell under the thin fabric. It was dangerous. It was wrong. But it was real. And something deep inside me had already crossed the line. I don't know how long I sat there, watching him. It felt like time slowed down. Like the quiet in the room wasn't really silence, but tension. A kind of soft pressure between us, humming beneath the surface, waiting. I reached for the throw blanket folded at the edge of the couch. As I leaned closer, my hand accidentally brushed against his side. His skin was warm, solid. My breath caught. Liam stirred. His eyes opened slowly, hazy from sleep. He looked at me, blinking. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he smiled. That same crooked, lazy grin that used to mean nothing. Now it set off fireworks in my chest. "Can't sleep?" he asked, his voice thick with grogginess. "No," I whispered. "I just thought you might need this." I handed him the blanket, but he didn't take it right away. His eyes held mine. And in that moment, there was something unspoken between us. Something I didn't have the courage to name. "I'm glad you're here," he said quietly. "It's been weird at school lately. Stressful." I nodded, unable to say much. My fingers grazed his arm again, softer this time. Neither of us moved away. "You've changed," I murmured, not even sure why I said it. He raised an eyebrow. "Is that a good thing?" I bit my lip. "I haven't decided." His laugh was soft like velvet. And then the silence came again, this time heavier. More loaded. I stood up suddenly. I should go to bed. But I didn't move toward the stairs. Instead, I walked into the kitchen, flicked on the small overhead light, and poured myself a glass of water I didn't need. Behind me, I heard his footsteps. When I turned around, Liam was leaning in the doorway, arms crossed over his chest, watching me. "Is everything okay?" he asked. I nodded, but it was a lie. He stepped forward, slow, cautious. "You seem off." I shrugged. "Maybe I am." We were inches apart now. I could feel the heat radiating off his skin. His scent, something clean, subtle, intoxicating, filled the space between us. "You know," he said, his voice lower now, "I've always thought you were beautiful." My heart stopped. He wasn't joking. His eyes were serious, focused, and I had no idea what to say. "Liam." I breathed, a warning, a plea, maybe even a whisper of surrender. "I mean it," he said. "You're strong, confident, but there's a softness about you. Like you're carrying something heavy and hiding it under smiles." I felt seen in a way I hadn't in years. No one, not even Alex, had looked at me like that in so long. Like I was real. Like I mattered. And I hated how much I needed it. He stepped closer. So close that if I moved even a breath, I'd touch him. "Tell me to stop," he said. But I didn't. I should have. I wanted to. But instead, my eyes searched his, and my lips parted just enough to betray me. He leaned in slowly, almost testing the space between us. And when his lips brushed mine, it wasn't a kiss. It was a question. And my answer was in the way I didn't pull away. In the way I tilted my chin just slightly, inviting more. And then the kiss deepened, still gentle, but full of every unspoken thing we'd tried to suppress. I felt his hands at my waist, warm and steady, anchoring me to the moment I couldn't believe was happening. We broke apart, breathless, eyes locked. "I'm sorry," he whispered. But I wasn't. Not even a little. Because for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt something alive inside me. And I wasn't ready to let it go. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. Even as I lay in my bed, the pillow cool beneath my cheek, my body burned with memory. The kiss. His breath. The feel of his hands resting so carefully on my waist. As if I were something delicate. Sacred. Untouchable, yet touched all the same. I could still feel the pull of his gaze, even though I wasn't in the room with him anymore. I rolled over. My robe had slipped open slightly, and I let it. The ceiling fan spun lazily above me, casting soft shadows across the walls. But my eyes stayed fixed on the door. The space between us felt thin, fragile, as if one thought, one whisper, could shatter the distance. And then I heard it. A quiet knock. Not loud, not urgent, just enough to let me know he was still awake. I didn't speak. I didn't have to. The door creaked open, and there he was. Liam, in a white t-shirt and pajama pants that hung loose around his hips. His hair was tousled, his eyes darker in the low light. He looked unsure, hesitant, but he was there. "Can I?" he started, voice barely a whisper. I nodded. He closed the door behind him and stood there for a moment, watching me from across the room like he was giving me one last chance to say no. But I didn't. He moved slowly toward the bed, and I sat up, brushing my hair behind my ear. My robe slipped further, and I didn't adjust it. I couldn't look away from him. When he reached the edge of the bed, I shifted to make space. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice gentler than I'd ever heard it. "I'm not," I said truthfully. "But I can't stop thinking about it." He swallowed hard. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. It was just the sound of our breathing, the low hum of the ceiling fan, and the weight of everything we weren't supposed to feel pressing into the room. Then he sat down. Not too close, but close enough. The mattress shifted beneath us. I felt his hand graze mine. Tentative. Almost trembling. I didn't move away. I turned toward him, and our eyes met again. And just like earlier, there was no hesitation this time. His hand came to my cheek. My skin reacted before my mind could catch up. I leaned into it. I closed my eyes. And when he kissed me again, I let it be what it was. Soft. Searching. Slow. But there was a hunger underneath it. Something that had waited too long. His lips traced along my jaw, down to the base of my throat. My breath caught in my chest, and I let out a quiet sound, something between need and surrender. The robe slipped further, revealing more of me than I'd ever intended him to see. And still I didn't stop him. His hand moved to my waist again, firmer this time. Certain. I ran my fingers through his hair, feeling his breath warm against my collarbone. The room felt smaller, hotter, like all the oxygen was being pulled into the space between our bodies. I shouldn't have wanted him, but God, I did. More than anything. He pulled back just enough to look at me again, his eyes scanning my face. "I don't want to hurt you," he said quietly. "You're not," I whispered. "You're the only one who's made me feel wanted in a long time." That broke something inside him. He leaned in again, this time deeper, fuller. His kiss told me everything he hadn't said. The longing, the confusion, the forbidden craving we had both tried to resist. I wrapped my arms around his shoulders, pulling him closer until there was no space left between us. No past. No rules. No names like stepmom and stepson. Just skin. Just breath. Just two people caught in something they never expected. We moved together slowly, like every moment was borrowed. Like we both knew this wasn't something we could ever keep. But for that night we didn't care. Because in that fragile, broken silence, we found something that felt terrifyingly close to love.